record button. And for the first video in depth into our approach, we're focusing on number one, which is focus on portfolio management, is value stream management plus alignment. And I want to go into depth on what we mean by this. Now, when we talk about portfolio management, we discuss it as the processes and tools that align your strategy to your execution. And what I want to make sure we hone in on is value stream management is all about managing the value, and value is all about the outcomes that you're giving to our customers. And so when you're actually doing portfolio management and value stream management, you have to focus on the outcomes. So when we talk about translating the strategy and objectives of the future into a list of valuable elements to achieve these objectives, the list that we're actually producing, again, if you're doing a value stream management, managing value, and value is outcomes, the list of things that you're translating must include and focus on the outcomes. Now, don't get me wrong, we should still discuss the outputs that you produce, but they should be discussed only in relation to the outcomes that we're expecting our organization to execute on. What are your thoughts, Rhonda?
Right. This all starts top down, Brian. So you're looking at your strategy. You have to start there. And then you take that strategy and start decomposing it into the outcomes needed for a successful strategy. And so, and the decomposition goes all the way from the top, all the way through the hierarchy. And the reason why that's so important is the other approach is to start bottoms up, which I see happening a lot, where organizations are taking a set of outputs, grouping them together, and calling that their strategy. But that does not ensure that you're going to get the outcomes you need, because there wasn't that alignment from the top down when it was planned out. And so it always has to start from the top, and the decomposition happens from there. The other part is the alignment piece. The alignment piece is so important.
It's essential. Yeah.
And it's needed, for one, is to get rid of waste, and two, again, to make sure that you have the right pieces fitting together for your strategy.
Yeah, I can't talk enough about that alignment piece. And, I need to make sure that I ask the question, will producing these outputs actually give me the outcome that I desire? And I need to control this thing so that I get the outcomes I want. And I should look at them by themselves and as a whole unit in my portfolio. And so I'm asking these questions, and I should also, in advance, define these to a degree where I can produce metrics so I can look at these things periodically. And I should have targets. I'm going to produce this much by this date, so I know that I'm on the right track of producing what I need to produce. And that's the only way that you can actually do value stream management properly.
Right. And so this whole thing about controlling is so important, because that's, by definition of management, it's the control, it's the governance of the whole process to make sure you're getting the outcomes that you desire.
Absolutely. And so what that entails is that if I'm going to control it, I need to assess not only the outcomes themselves periodically, but I need to assess the planning and make sure that the outputs that I plan to produce and the way I plan to do it will actually reach the outcomes that I desire. And I should be looking at this periodically to make sure that these things are in alignment. And when I produce these, I'm going to pull up this picture here. Because what I should see when I actually produce it, I should see a hierarchy that doesn't just possess what traditionally we have in our hierarchy, which is just the outputs. Instead, I should produce a hierarchy that actually has outcomes with the associated outputs in it, so you can actually verify the alignment and that these things do make sense.
Right. And so you see the pattern here in what you're showing. It's really clear. You start with your outcomes, and then you decide what are the activities, the outputs that need to happen to produce that outcome, and go through the next layer down. What's the outcome that you needed at the lower level to get to the higher level outcome? And then what are the activities needed to achieve that outcome? And you build a whole structure that way. It's a really clean, simple structure.
And if you can see, we decomposed it. And if you're decomposing it properly to really do value stream management, you need to make sure that it goes all the way from the top, the vision, to the user stories that the teams are working on. And if I do this properly, then I should have this breakdown, which allows me to get insight into, are we actually realizing the benefits? And if we are, then great, you'll get the outcomes. But if you're not, then you probably either need to change the outputs you're producing or change your strategy, because it's the wrong strategy. So with that, we'd like to conclude our first in-depth dive into our first principle here. And we will come back later, and we're going to knock out each of those principles one by one.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you.